your self-image shapes your entire life. Change it, and everything else follows, because the way you see yourself quietly controls the decisions you make, the risks you take, and the limits you accept. Every action begins with a belief, and every belief is rooted in the picture you carry of yourself in your mind. If you see yourself as weak, you will hesitate, you will doubt, and you will shrink away from opportunities that could transform your life. If you see yourself as capable, even when you are still learning, you will step forward, you will try, and you will grow into the person you believe you can become. This is why self-image is not just a thought. It is a powerful force that shapes your reality. From a very young age, people begin to form an identity based on what they hear, what they experience, and how others respond to them. A careless word, a failure, or a moment of rejection can slowly build a negative image that feels real, even though it is not the full truth. Over time, this image becomes a silent script running in the background, telling you what you deserve and what you should avoid. It whispers that you are not ready, that you are not enough, and that you should stay where it feels safe. The danger is not that this voice exists. The danger is that you believe it without question. The moment you begin to question that image, everything starts to shift. When you realize that your self-image is not fixed, but something that can be changed, you take back control of your life. You begin to understand that you are not defined by your past, but by your choices in the present. Each time you challenge a limiting belief, you weaken its power. Each time you act in confidence, even when you feel uncertain, you build a stronger, more positive image of yourself. Changing your self-image does not require perfection. It requires consistency. It is the small daily decisions, the quiet moments where you choose courage over comfort, that slowly reshape how you see yourself. When you keep promises to yourself, no matter how small, you start to trust who you are becoming. When you speak to yourself with respect instead of criticism, you create an inner environment where growth is possible. This is not about pretend to be someone you are not. It is about uncovering the strength that has always been within you. As your self-image changes, your behavior naturally follows. You begin to aim higher, speak with more confidence, and surround yourself with better opportunities. You stop settling for less because you no longer believe that less is all you deserve. People around you may notice the change, but the most important transformation happens within you. You start to feel different, stronger, more certain, and more aligned with your true potential. In the end, changing your self-image was one of the most powerful decisions you can make, because it affects every area of your life, your career, your relationships, and your sense of purpose. When you change how you see yourself, you change what you believe is possible. And when you change what you believe is possible, you begin to create a life that once felt out of reach. The way you speak to yourself matters more than what the world says about you, because your inner voice is the one you hear every single day, in every situation, and in every quiet moment when no one else is around. The world may judge you, criticize you, or even praise you, but those voices come and go, while your own voice stays with you, shaping how you feel, how you think, and how you act. If your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, fear, and harsh criticism, it does not matter how much encouragement you receive from others, you will still struggle to believe in yourself. On the other hand, if you learn to speak to yourself with strength, patience, and honesty, you can withstand negativity from the outside and remain grounded in your own confidence. Many people are unaware of how powerful their self-talk really is. They repeat phrases in their mind like, I am not good enough, I always fail, or I cannot do this, without realizing that these words are slowly becoming beliefs. Over time, these beliefs influence behavior. When you constantly tell yourself that you are incapable, you begin to act as if it is true, avoiding challenges, giving up easily, and settling for less than you deserve. This creates a cycle where your actions reinforce your negative thoughts, making them feel even more real. The problem is not just what you say to yourself, but how often you say it and how deeply you accept it as truth. Breaking this cycle begins with awareness. You have to start listening to the way you speak to yourself, especially in difficult moments. When something goes wrong, do you encourage yourself to learn and improve? Or do you immediately criticize and blame yourself? The difference between these two responses is the difference between growth and stagnation. Speaking to yourself with kindness does not mean ignoring your mistakes. It means addressing them in a way that helps you move forward instead of holding you back. It means saying, I made a mistake, but I can learn from this, instead of I am a failure. Your inner voice also plays a major role in how you handle the opinions of others. When your self-talk is strong and supportive, negative comments lose their power. You are able to hear criticism without letting it define you. You can take what is useful and leave the rest behind. However, when your inner voice is already critical, outside negativity feels heavier, more personal, and more damaging. It becomes easy to believe every negative thing you hear because it matches what you have been telling yourself all along. Developing a positive inner voice takes time and effort. It requires you to challenge old patterns and replace them with healthier ones. This might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you are used to being hard on yourself. But with practice, it becomes natural. Start by choosing your words carefully. Instead of saying, I cannot do this, try saying, I am learning how to do this. Instead of focusing on what you lack, focus on what you are building. These small changes may seem simple, but they have a powerful impact over time. As you continue to improve the way you speak to yourself, you will notice changes in your confidence, your resilience, and your overall mindset. You will begin to trust yourself more, take on bigger challenges, and recover more quickly from setbacks. Most importantly, you will create a sense of inner stability that is not dependent on the opinions of others. In the end, the voice that matters most is the one within you, because it has the power to either limit your life or elevate it, depending on how you choose to use it. Growth begins the moment you decide to see yourself differently, because every change in your life starts with a change in perception, not circumstance. Most people wait for external results before they believe in themselves. They think confidence will come after success and strength will come after proof, but real growth works in the opposite direction. It begins internally with a quiet but powerful decision to no longer view yourself through the lens of past failures, doubts, or limitations. The moment you shift how you see yourself, you begin to act differently, think differently, and respond to challenges in a new way. And that is where true transformation starts. For a long time, you may have carried an outdated version of yourself, one shaped by old experiences, mistakes, and opinions that no longer define who you are today. You might have accepted labels like not smart enough, not confident enough, or not capable enough without ever questioning where those labels came from. Over time, those ideas become part of your identity, and you begin to live within the boundaries they create. You avoid opportunities, you hesitate to take risks, and you stay within a comfort zone that feels safe but limits your potential. The problem is not your ability. It is the way you see yourself. The decision to see yourself differently is not always dramatic. It often happens in a quiet moment of realization, when you understand that you have been underestimating your own potential. Is the moment you choose to stop identifying with your past and start focusing on who you can become. This This decision does not require perfection or certainty. It only requires willingness. You do not have to have all the answers. You just have to be open to the possibility that you are more capable than you have allowed yourself to believe. Once you make that decision, your mindset begins to shift. Challenges that once felt intimidating start to look like opportunities to grow. Failures no longer define you. They become lessons that guide you forward. Instead of asking, what if I fail? You begin to ask, what can I learn? And that simple change in perspective opens doors that were previously closed. You start to take action even when you feel uncertain, and with each step you build confidence. Not because everything is easy, but because you are proving to yourself that you can handle what comes your way. Growth is not an overnight process. It is a continuous journey that requires patience and consistency. There will be moments when old doubts try to return, when your mind attempts to pull you back into familiar patterns of thinking. In those moments, the key is to remind yourself of the decision you made, to see yourself differently, and to keep moving forward despite the discomfort. Every time you choose belief over doubt, action over hesitation, and courage over fear, you strengthen your new self-image and move further away from the limitations of your past. As this new perception becomes stronger, it begins to influence every area of your life. You start setting higher goals, building healthier relationships, and creating opportunities that align with your true potential. You no longer settle for less because you no longer see yourself as less. This is the power of changing how you see yourself. It changes not only what you do, but who you believe you are. In the end, growth is not something that happens to you. It is something that begins within you. It starts with a decision, a simple but powerful choice to see yourself not as you have been, but as you can become. And from that moment forward, everything begins to change. In the end, everything you have heard comes down to one simple truth. The life you live will always reflect the way you see and speak to yourself. Your self-image is not fixed. It is something you shape every single day through your thoughts, your words, and your actions. The way you talk to yourself either builds you or breaks you. It either pushes you forward or holds you back. And the moment you become aware of that power, you also gain the ability to change it. You are not defined by your past. You are not limited by your fears, and you are not the negative voice that once convinced you to doubt yourself. The growth begins when you decide to challenge those old beliefs, when you choose to replace criticism with encouragement, and when you start seeing yourself as someone who is capable of more. It does not happen all at once. It happens step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision. So take this moment as your turning point, not because everything around you will instantly change, but because you will. Choose to see yourself differently, choose to speak to yourself with strength, and choose to believe that you are becoming better every day. Because once that shift happens within you, everything else will begin to follow, and the person you are becoming will no longer be held back by who you used to be.